Well, hello people, and welcome to a really interesting City Skylines 2 mod showcase. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So the beautiful Triton Supreme has put together the extra detailing tools 3.0 alongside the asset importer as well. Now this has done some really incredible things for Cities 2. So in today's video, I really want to walk through kind of what this mod does and just how game changing it can be really. So we're in Edinburgh right now. You guys are familiar with this city, of course. And with the mod installed, we will notice a new icon down here next to our landscaping. This is extra assets. Now this is an incredibly fun menu. So let's just kind of run through this. We'll also touch on the snapping and some of the features of this. And then we'll build some things using all this new stuff. So first of all, we have our surfaces. There are ground surfaces. There are also some custom ones from Sully as well. We'll get into these. There's riverbed textures. All of your in-game textures are now arranged here. Grasses, agriculture. The two concrete options are also here as well alongside the grass, so you can get that more manicured grass look if that's what you're after. The pavement surfaces are here too alongside the sand, which again also have some custom assets from Sully, which we'll draw one out while we've stumbled across one, right? So it's just going to give you texture, which in my opinion is one of the things Cities 2 is really lacking at the minute. The difference in texture makes an enormous just visual difference to the build for me. So you got sands here, and then of course there's tiles. So a nice little section where you can paint out any surfaces you want, organized in a nice easy to find format. So really great, and expect more custom asset or more custom textures now that this is out. So just really cool, right? We'll use some of these in our builds. Then we come across to decals. So these are really kind of the first wave of custom assets or custom decals, if you like, for CS2. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. There's beach decals as well, which of course are going to tie perfectly in with all your sand surface painter work. Parking decals, an arrangement of car and road logos you would expect to be here. There's miscellaneous decals as well, including your basketball courts, your football fields, tennis courts as well. So if you want to make little custom tennis areas, that's possible now as well. The football field is also a ploppable decal. Of course, all functional with Anarchy as well. So just really cool, right? But then we start coming into some of the road marking decals and some of the stain decals here. And this is where things get super interesting for me. So let's, for example, take this large stain decal here. You'll notice down in your snapping options that you actually now have a snap to road, or I guess a snap to network option here. Now this is really incredible because it allows us to snap these decals on all these worn textures directly to the road, which just, it ages it, you know? And that's such a massive missing thing for CS2, I think. It doesn't just make every one of your roads look like this smooth, undamaged grey surface, you know? You can put these anywhere. In particular, they work very nicely up against a train station. Big shout out as well to Sully, CityRat and YenYang as well for all their work with this. These guys have really helped just give the details in CS2 exactly what they're after. So with this, you know, you can really properly dirty up your train station platforms, make them look a little bit more weathered, and place down some of these decals over here, right? Maybe kind of dirty up a little corner of our train station here. So we'll come on to wall graffiti decals in here. There's a very fun thing here we'll have a look at in a second. But then let's have a look at some of the graffiti decals. We want to turn off snap up right here. And now we have all these amazing graffitis that can be rotated 180. There's the snap to the surface of an object here, so you can slide it up a wall. The snapping options here are just absolutely fantastic. Just Triton Supreme. What a genius to see Colossal Order kind of floundering from update to update, trying to fix the game, whilst the community is doing stuff like this. Is just different gravy, I think, isn't it? It's a homage to just how bloody brilliant Cities Skylines community is at improving the game. Let's look at that. So you can now spend time personalizing little street corners with all these decals. So let's head off somewhere around the city and find an undetailed street corner, which is a pretty common theme, especially when you're doing kind of larger chunkier zonings like this. I'm really after kind of an unkept or untextured street corner, really. There we go, there's one here. Yeah. But this here, right, is a pretty common theme in CS2, isn't it? It's just as you zone in, especially if you're also zoning on kind of a curved road as well, right? You get a lot of this. It really irritates me from a detailing point of view. Manolds has spoiled me with the zoning system. So let's, for example, use all these brand new mod tools here to fix this, okay? So let's first of all come into our surfaces. That's going to be the first thing we want, isn't it? And we can see that there is a little grass surface here. So let's put that up there. Maybe just drag that up into the corner nodes. And then there's a bit of concrete there as well, isn't there? So let's go ahead and grab our pavement service. I'm pretty sure if my CS2 knowledge stands up, this should be pavement service number 2. And let's run this in line with the building. No, it's pavement service number 1, of course it is. So we'll run it in line with the building. There we go, that's what we want. But now we have our extended texture. Let's also grab some props that might be appropriate for the side of the street here as well. Let's, for example, go ahead and find a trash dumpster, okay? So let's get some of these empty trash containers. We'll have all of these bins by the side of the building for residents to obviously use. There's a helicopter above me somewhere. It's so bloody loud. Just go away. Sorted, so that's fine. And then let's get some of these trash piles. We'll have a couple of random trash piles knocking around here. In and around the bins would also be great. Just a bit of a dirty street corner, right? Exactly what I'm trying to generate here. That's not too bad, and then hopefully we can also get a... Can we get a fire bin as well? Let's get a barrel fire too. Let's have one right about there. Okay. Cool. So let's come back into our extra detailing things. We've got some decals now. So let's come across to the stains, and beautiful shout out to the gorgeous Welsh man that is Sully for his work on these. And let's just start placing them where they make sense up against this building here. Okay, let's definitely get some on the road as well. Let's actually turn off all our snapping here. Besides upright, if you're doing these decals, you want them to be snapped upright really, otherwise they kind of flip around in weird dimensions. We'll do that. Now let's actually snap back to our network, and then let's get some of these larger decals on here now, right? Just dirty up this street like it has got wear and tear on it, natural weathering, etc. We can also detail up here as well where you would expect some further scuff marks. Let's get some small decals here too, maybe ones without the harsher edges are a little bit easier to work in. So let's go for just some of this sort of stuff, right? Cool. So now we've got nice, horrible, dirty street corner. Let's also go ahead and get some trees in there as well. Let's do something a bit smaller. Let's do some wild bushes here, okay? Very nice. Let's come back in and we'll grab some more decals now as well. So there's some war decor posters. As part of the launch, the beautiful people involved in this have developed us just some really cool decals and posters. You want to actually turn off upright snapping for this bit here. So there are some overcharged egg ones. Tigon has also given me some further custom assets as well, which we'll try getting in today's episode. So there's a travel to Thessia banner here. Let's also get... Biffa's got some as well, hasn't he? Let's have Biffa got a poster up near the bin. I get a few candy in here too. A little bit of City Planet Plays, of course. There we go. And then CityRat's also got a little banner. Triton Supreme as well, of course. Who is a real legend. We can have those there. Then let's grab ourselves some graffiti. Now let's have this smoky decal up here. Someone's decaled the garage door here too. And we can get some decals on the wall behind the posters where Triton has tried to cover up some of the graffiti. Egg has put some things over there. And then, of course, they do go over the windows as well, so you could make it look as though someone's window has been graffitied. And these are all totally maneuverable as well. Now, this functionality also extends into the world of trees as well. You can pretty much snap anything to the side of a building now if you wanted to. It's a really cool functionality, these new snapping options. And then once you've pieced it all together, you're kind of left with a much more realistic, gritty street corner, aren't you? And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. Of course, some Find It props, these new decals are just absolutely gorgeous. I think just some organic weathering is seriously missing. You can really see the difference there on the transition of the decal, can't you? You know, this is the CS2 wearing where everything just looks a little bit too kind of false and clean, doesn't it? But, you know, just some natural dirt, weathering and decals makes absolutely enormous difference. It really does. I don't know where that helicopter is. It's there, isn't it? They keep flying out of the hospital. So, but there you go, right? So a nice little sort of highlight really between the difference between no decals, and then all these little props that of course are now available via Find It, and the posters and the graffiti and everything else that comes with this sort of stuff, right? So super cool functionality that comes with this mod over here. For those that are into detail in finer areas, it just makes a world of difference, doesn't it? So let's move on to the next feature now, and then we'll actually do a build with all of these things together. Just a kind of a little mini diorama near a train station, I think. I should also mention as well that there is letters here as well, which is really cool for developing your own signage, isn't it? Get some right up here. So that's just awesome, isn't it? Like really, really, really cool. For just creating custom signage if you need to create a sign for something, which of course in Cities 1 was limited to pretty much procedural objects. But to now just be able to have some vinyl alphabet to place around. Awesome, isn't it? Really, really cool. Endless possibilities and laughs, I think, to be had with that. So that's just a taste, right, of all those little decals and samples. And then there's also numbers as well. Let's go for egg 1. There's then a bunch of ground decals as well, which we'll get onto a little bit later on. Some of these are a little bit more natural looking. So again, you want the snap upright for these, so you can place down. You know, it's just a change in texture, isn't it? So for example, we've got a little gazebo around here, haven't we? We do. So just where you would expect that grass to be a little more worn, you know, some dirt and stone showing through rather than just that relentless, endless, untextured green. World of difference, isn't it? You can take that one there as a bit of a contrast, can't you? Kind of endless green, perfect grass, and then just a couple of stones, a bit of dirt, bit of grass and weeds. It goes a long way, doesn't it? It really does. So these are the endless wonderful world of decals, and I of course expect many different variations of these to come over the years. Now this is here. Just so exciting, isn't it? I think every time we see some of these new kind of groundbreaking mods for CS2, they just get more exciting, don't they? They're just fantastically cool. So let's build ourselves some custom basketball courts. So as with CS1, when you're placing decals down, they don't function, you know, they're not buildings. The Sims aren't going to recognize them. They are purely decorative. But let's say, for example, we want to create a couple of little custom basketball courts here, right? So let's come into net lanes, which is its own category within the mod. So there's miscellaneous net lanes here. You're probably going to recognize some of these. There is the public transport lane here. But we'll come on to this. What I really want to cover is the fence networks. So more fence networks than we could have ever imagined. There's hedges in here. There's picket fencing, industrial, chain link, raw iron, stone. This is my dream. This is what I desperately needed from CS2. So first of all, let's start drawing with a fence network, shall we? So let's pick out a fence. So pretty much every fence in the game, all the ones that are on the assets on the residential buildings are now in the game as a network, and this is just fantastic. So let's find a fence that might be suitable for a basketball court. How about this chain link one, right? So it's the chain link fence, but it's a network. Now this, to be quite honest, is enormously game changing for me. Just to have all of that prop fencing, this is better than it was in CS1. To have that prop fencing there as a network is amazing. Absolutely. Just thoroughly blown away with that, right? And where about there, right? And then we can pretend that with Anarchy. This is just a little sort of private entranceway to these basketball courts, right? Let's come back into those fences. Let's do a different fence around the other one. Like, why don't we go for this one here? It's quite sort of a posh looking fence, isn't it? We know this one there. Again, you can probably recognise this one off of the beachless properties. If you didn't, well, everyone has it now, don't they? Of course, free content these days. And then a couple of trees around that, you know. Let's go for the old favourite oaks, right? They're always well received, aren't they? And again, even with those decals again now, we can spend time just scuffing up our basketball courts where it would make sense to see those little scuffs on a court. Something like that should be pretty tasteful, right? And hopefully now, just seeing this mod in action, just how much it slows down the gameplay in CS2 for me, because I think that's one of my biggest criticisms of the game, is just how fast things go. And that's mainly because of the game's problems. But to just be able to slow down like this and customize with decals and fences and all these little intricate areas that you can now put together. Of course, you combine this with Find It and the game just explodes. You know, this is what I wanted from CS2, was this slow, methodical city detailer. You know, people on the channel, I don't particularly care much for simulation. I don't really give that much thought and care into how much grain my city has exported in the last 20 months. This is where the fun lies for me, and this mod makes it all possible. So network fencing, easily, is just absolutely mind-blowing, isn't it? There's a number of different ones here. Let's set up some together. There's the hedges, which are still suffering from the graphical glitch at the minute. Little picket fencing, iron fencing, these kind of stone and iron together, regular wooden residential fence. And it's just awesome. This easily, for me, is the best bit of the mod. All these different fence networks that are now available. Truly game changing for me. And then you can see how they can be applied in various different other applications, right? So really exciting. If you guys are looking for decals and detailing as part of your CS2 experience, you can't really get any better than this, right? This is pretty incredible. Whilst we are also over by our enormous collection of brand new fences, I'd also like to touch on some of the net lane stuff that we glossed over earlier. So as part of this, so I think the best way really to consider this is to look at this as like a networking tool. So it's turning things into the game, such as these fences that we find across the various assets, and even things like road markings, into networks. Now this is something I had never really considered a possibility in CS. This one right here is the gravel drive lane, right? This is the decal of where people drive on the gravel. And then there's the public transport one. The drive lanes of the highway. The pavement transition. There's the railings on the subway. So you can get all these individual networks. Now on their own, they might not kind of appear that useful, but just having them like this. I definitely think the road marking net lanes is kind of a more advancement of kind of intersection marking tool almost. So there's yield lines in the EU, there's the highway merge lines, so it's just all of the road markings on your highways, all these little bits and pieces here that make up, you know, the various road markings in CS2's road tools are now available as individual drawing networks. So you can basically draw down your own roads using the invisible paths, and, you know, create your concrete around them like we have done many times before in Edinburgh, which would give you a walkable surface. But you can now add all these different road markings onto it just with the simple addition of network, and it's really quite powerful for me. Like, you know, just being able to place this stuff down to do as you please with it, or just to design something. I really can't wait to see what the community is going to come up when they get access to all this stuff. There's going to be some super creative minds out there, and I can't wait to see what we can do with them as well. So just really powerful. So I'm a huge fan of the fences. You know, that's definitely where all the secret herbs and spices lie for me, is in these network fences. But also having that extend to net lanes in terms of actual sort of network lines, and then actual road markings, having it also cover them as well, is very interesting, and again, not something I really ever considered a possibility. But you can certainly see how this would evolve, or is a kind of maybe a different branch maybe of intersection marking tool, rather than setting coordinates and then drawing them in yourselves like you do in Cities 1. you just have them as durable networks here. Now, I don't know if CS2 actually has a network limit. I don't think it does. I believe the limits have been removed, haven't they? But still really interesting. This is a great spot here as well, isn't it? So we can see where we've got some prop fencing in here, haven't we? Why don't we replace this around our station? So let's delete all these. And then now we can come into our network fences, and let's grab a slightly more industrial looking fence. Let's go for industrial fence high is there, isn't it? I think it's probably the most appropriate one, isn't it? The one with the barbed wire. And just now so simple, not having to mess about with the fence mode on the prop line tool is just absolutely gorgeous. This all works again with Anarchy and usual road tools. Now hopefully as our train passes into the station, that's a more convincing fence configuration, right? You can tell the difference there, can't you, with how the props interact with the terrain. They kind of peel away and move on the different angle. But here it's just one network that is seamless, goes uphill and downhill, and it's just gorgeous. And then that falls onto our stained train station over here now as well, doesn't it? So really cool. Just a little bit of weathering and natural fencing is absolutely most welcome, I think, for CS2. Huge fan of this update. I hope you enjoy that. Let's head over now. I think we'll head back to Whiskey Station, and we'll just take, for example, hopefully there's a... Yeah, let's do it with this one here. Right, so we will set up some buildings and a little detailed park here with some parking around the back, some decals, and just take what is very much a vanilla kind of street corner in CS2, throw extra detailing tools at it, and then just see exactly how much this can change the game. So let's do a little bit of detail in here, and then we'll be right back. Let's have a little look around what's happened here. So I think there's a great example here between the block on the left, which has been zoned with the vanilla mechanics, where kind of corners are left just a little bit more awkward. And then the one on the right has obviously had some mods run through it. So we've placed in some mixed density, and really to help create some alleyways, where we've done lots of the surface tool through here as well. We've also got some of the posters and decals. I'll tell you what we will do. Let's hop into photo mode here, because we can get a little lower to the ground as we essentially walk through the alleyway. So how much of a difference do those decals make, right? Just a touch of natural stain, and Sully's done a beautiful job, hasn't he? Really nicely detailed. But they're really cool. And of course all our posters here as well. Canadian Moose. Kodiak the Kodiak as well. We've also got a few candy down here too. Alongside some more graffiti art as well. And then really kind of set up a bit of a mock car park behind all the buildings using more decals, and including these new network line tools as well that we've looked at today. It's a fantastic mod set that's coming out, and when you partner it with Anarchy and Find It and Line Tool, it's just amazing. it's just so good. The addition of fences back into the game, road markings as networks. Who knew that we needed that? Being able to draw things on like that. That's almost like an evolution of the intersection marking tool, almost, isn't it? Being able to just place the roads like that rather than having to set coordinates for it like we had to in CS1. This has the potential to evolve tenfold from what it is right now. Absolutely crazy. And then more decals up along here with little breaks in the fence. Some of those little kind of Rocky Park decals here as well, just to kind of hammer home the point. How much of a difference does that make? Just a change in texture is sorely needed. Just as a little bit of a back alley sort of car park behind a set of buildings. I think that's a really nicely done job of it. With some decals, a bit of Find It. Totally different game, isn't it, compared to this, which is what you get around the backs of buildings, and you can't really deal with corners in the vanilla game. So, night and day, really, from what the modders have been able to give us via extra detailing tools, the asset importers getting these decals on, Find It and Move It, and Line Tool, and all the other modders that contribute to this space as well. There you go. There's the contrast. It's pretty insane, isn't it? So this was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. And then we'll head over to the apartment by the hospital, where it had that little detailed side alley, didn't we? But just the ability to add in lots more personality now into the city is truly enticing. I'd definitely say if you were not particularly enjoying CS2 due to the lack of detailing, this mod, in combination with Find It, of course, goes a long way. I use some different fencing here as well, put down some surfaces and some chairs. Basketball hoops and more decals against the courts, right? It's such a subtle difference in, obviously, it was the grand scheme of city planning and building and road networks, but You know, when you just get to zoom in on little areas like this that you've detailed and you just see the personality and charm, because like all the vanilla assets, they're all super well made. Like we've got loads of benches, there's bins, there's a ton of stuff in the base game. All the gazebos, the fountains, actually significant more prop selection than CS1 had. But it's just a shame it's all locked away. So it really is nice to see the kind of mods beginning to fix some of those pain points as well. And then here is the collection of fences that was shown earlier in the video as well. Just in the same variety. And it's all the prop fencing that's on the assets, but it's been built into a network tool now, which has obviously been applied to every other thing in the game as well, like the markings and stuff. Like, I think the introduction of a networking tool is really quite cool. Not something I ever really considered as a possible function. But I think hopefully today's episode at least showcases how powerful it can be, especially when CS2 really does need a lot of help at the minute, I think, to make it an enjoyable experience, which these mods do absolutely more than enough to help with that, I think. So on top of the wonderful assets we've already seen so far, Tigon, who is involved as part of this project, has made us some custom decals for the Land of Egg, I suppose, so let's definitely have a look at these. So under our decal menu, they are on the second tab where we have a few of them here. So we have Visit Palawan, of course, we have this one over here. It's going to be so good using all these little posters for Cities 2 builds now. We got some Essia, Navaria, of course, Ilos, and then some very authentic, like, UK inspired kind of like city council signage that you would definitely see on, like, street corners like this. So super cool. Massive shout out to Tigon for this. It's always really humbling to have custom assets built into a game. He's done just a wonderful job of it. Some even more here as well. Always enjoy a warm welcome. Oh, I miss Ilos. It's so cool. There's a larger Navaria one as well. So at the side of this building is just absolutely plastered in custom egg decals. They're always nice to see homage to these CS1 builds, isn't it? Maybe we can get an Orchid Bay one in here as well, then that'd be really cool. So super big, amazing, gorgeous hug to Tigon for building these in as part of the actual landscaping tools kind of mod update. Amazing to have custom decals. I don't know if he's going to make them available to you guys if you want them in your cities. I'm sure he will one day on Paradox mods, but it's very cool to have them in. Thank you so much, Tigon. I very much enjoy these. Very cool. But otherwise, guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, likes, comments, and shares below really do help the channel to grow and get some support down for these mod makers as well. Triton Supreme has led the project here as well, but Sully, CityRat, Triton, Brucey, there's been tons of people involved in this. So I'll leave some links down below for more information on this, especially by the time you guys watch this video. It's out on the 10th of May, so this will be out probably on the 9th, I think. So if you're watching this after the fact, it will probably be out for you now, but it is out on the 10th of May. I'll leave all linked down below on Paradox mods on the day of release, so you guys can go ahead and check it out. Let me know what you think of it. It's pretty game changing for CS2 for me. It really kind of just switches up how you develop and build a city, which was a process I didn't particularly enjoy with CS2. Granted, the road tools are fantastic, but the game is pretty heavily plagued at the minute with problems, which is all well known. We're not going to get into that here. Today is definitely a celebration of these fantastic mods that are definitely making the game significantly more palatable. I'm really happy to see stuff like this being made, and of course it's only really the first step for this mod, isn't it? What updates are going to come down the line after they get to spend a little bit more time with it really does kind of boggle the mind as to what will hopefully be eventually possible in CS2. Massive shout out to all the patrons. Instant Gaming and Patreon are linked down below if you are at all interested in those. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.